Welcome to Homeworld Deserts of Karak. This is Majiir Paktu speaking. It has been a long time, and we are here on Galcian territories. This is Artifact Cup 30, round 6. Round 6 out of 9 total rounds. And we have Saturas here in the Knef versus yours truly in the Galcian carrier. And so we're on Galcian territories. This is my favorite map, which I've said over and over again, because it does matter, or at least it makes a little bit of a difference during the game. Saturas is starting up here on sort of the uphill location, where his extraction zone is down here in the ditch, and then I'm at the kind of middle bottom location where my extraction zone is at the very top of the map. So, starting out, both of us moving our base runners towards the middle, and both of us moving our production cruisers out. The Galcian and Knef factions are very, very similar early on. Not really any appreciable difference. Both of us getting Sandskimmer fabrication at about the same time. The biggest difference early is that the base runner from the Knef can produce blast drones. And so that's sort of an additional production slot that's available early without using a production cruiser. And also that the carrier defenses are a little different. We can see I've got power and weapon systems here, and this Galcian carrier is going to do a bit of a better job with defending than the Knef carrier, but really not by much. The Knef carrier here you see has the missile system activated, which is going to make it more effective against things like railguns and less effective against things like sandskimmers. But really it's kind of a wash until they power up. Once they do power up, the Knef carrier becomes very versatile, but can't take nearly as much damage or see as much as the Galcian carrier.
Ready for dispatch.
So Saturas here, opening up with some resources. I'm wondering if he's getting production. He is getting refinery mode, so he's going to be doing that pretty early. On the other hand, I am not getting refinery mode. It's been a while since I played this game, so I really don't remember what I did in this game. But just wanted to double check that. I am moving my production cruiser up onto this high spot, and I'm going to be scouting out with my sandskimmers. Also picking up an artifact. Saturas seemed to pull his base runner back rather than grab or contest that middle artifact, which is an interesting move. Now he is under attack by sandskimmers, but he's going to produce a blast drone, which, if he can get a good hit off, is going to be very profitable for him. That said, the sandskimmers are currently spread apart, so it's going to be hard for him to get a good blast drone hit. Also note the smoke coming out, which is going to protect him a little bit from taking more damage, because it's going to give him more time to bring that blast drone out with cover. We can see he does get 2 sandskimmers, so that's a profitable trade for him. I didn't get those out in time. And under that cover, he is going to grab an artifact, and if he moves this into his extraction zone, he's going to have no problem getting that in. So we're going to be up 1-1 on the artifacts. Saturas getting a second production cruiser out with refinery mode, so his carrier is now free to move, and you can see that missile system coming out. I mentioned it was going to be very effective against railguns, and indeed that is the case here. It is a skill shot that needs to be fired manually, and so moving around can protect against it, but this is going to be tough to fight against that carrier. This base runner will almost certainly go down. Depends on whether or not he can get a blast drone to take out those sandskimmers. There are also LEVs coming out to clean up sandskimmers on this side, so Saturas is in a very strong position now economically, being on 2 full bases while I'm still remote mining from one.
Let's go.
These are 3 heavy railguns out for me, which could do a good job against this carrier. Even with just a few railguns, a Knef carrier is going to take a lot of damage from 3 heavy railguns, and it's going to be forced back. But just 4 sandskimmers from Saturas are going to push back my forces here, because without assault railguns or a significant contingent of sandskimmers, it's going to be very hard to push in with those railguns without putting them in danger. That said, there is an artifact advantage here, so I could potentially move forward with my carrier and make it effective. There is Power Reserve 2 coming in for Saturas, and so that's going to sort of counteract that power imbalance. But still, I've got a second production cruiser out and no refinery mode, so this is really a problem for me economically. This forward production cruiser is producing units and sort of applying pressure to Saturas here, but he's holding off with these sand skimmers, so the pressure is not really doing all that much. This production cruiser probably could be back here and still doing just as much good. So I guess what I would say is what I'd love to see from Majiir right now is bring back the production cruiser, get refinery mode. I don't think I do that this game, just based on what I'm doing. Usually if I haven't gotten production cruiser refinery mode by now, I'm planning on a very aggressive play, but I think at this point in the game, I haven't realized, given, well, I can't really switch the vision there, but I haven't realized that Saturas' carrier is free to move. So here's a sand skimmer engagement. There's a speed upgrade for Saturas and an armor upgrade for Majiir, but the numbers are in Saturas' favor, and he's using his speed to pick off sand skimmers of mine from afar. Meanwhile, I've got just this production cruiser building, and it's going to itself be threatened. These railguns being really not able to do anything against those sand skimmers. Probably would have been better had I moved the railguns forward, and rather than throw them away against sand skimmers, perhaps throw them away against the Knife carrier and at least do some damage, or perhaps move them in against one of these production cruisers. We can see sort of a misclick here from Saturas, bringing his production cruisers forward. I doubt that he intended to do that. And this is a really nasty fight for me. These heavy railguns doing almost nothing this whole game. Now assault railguns coming out, which may be able to hold better against these sand skimmers, but are going to be really threatened by this Knife carrier. And here, yeah, the production cruiser is going back home. That's a blip in Saturas' economy that, had I scouted it, would have been much, much better for me if I had perhaps used these heavy railguns to take out one of those production cruisers. As it is, this carrier is still doing lots of damage, and these sand skimmers really cleaning up mine, but there is a force of railguns here building up with some assault railguns as well. These heavy railguns being threatened by the carrier, but with an ever-growing group of railguns, it may be possible for me to do some damage to the carrier. These heavy railguns getting caught out, so that's really bad. And artifacts are going again a little bit more into my favor. I'm about to grab a third artifact, which would be great if I perhaps pulled the carrier forward. We can see that I am just now starting production cruiser refinery mode research. That really needed to come in earlier. This production cruiser can get back. Producing another production cruiser on top of the existing two would allow me to move out with this carrier, and if I did that, I would have a superior economy and have a more mobile carrier with power that would perhaps not exceed, but it would at least match what Saturas has going on. As it is, though, Saturas really has the map control in the sense that these railguns have not been able to do anything to push back this carrier. And I think at this point I attribute that to the imbalance in resources. The fact that Saturas is collecting so many more resources allows him to burn that extra cash on power reserve tech, while also pumping out these sand skimmers. So we can see the carrier here, decently powerful, even though I've got a bunch of my power and range here and movement, which isn't really being used, but it's going to clean up those sand skimmers.
Carrier self-repair systems offline. Rally point marked. Carrier missile silos now online.
Here's my railguns coming in, and these are assault railguns. Going to take out these heavy railguns from Saturas right away, but also going to be taking huge hits from this carrier. Lots of power there in the missile systems, and running away here may have been a mistake. Moving in and attacking the production cruiser may have worked much, much better for me. We can see a lot of damage being done to this Knife carrier here, but it just takes one or two good skill shots from that carrier to take out these assault railguns. So I think that was perhaps a misplay by me there, not moving back and trying to take out some of these sand skimmers and production cruisers. But we do see him finally getting up with production cruiser refinery mode, getting some more resources coming in, and moving out with this carrier.
Sand skimmer now in service. Sand skimmer construction complete.
Normally at this point in the game, I'm no longer focusing on raiding resources and would have already made a few good attempts at it, but in this game I have not. And with these sand skimmers, it may have been a much better move to try and come up here or sneak in here. There are so many sand skimmers here from Saturas that it's really hard to fight them, but with assault railguns, maybe pulling them out, it could have been possible. As it is in this point, I'm falling into a bit of a trap here, trying to wait for this artifact as a Kneff carrier is bearing down on it. But if I can snag this artifact, or this one here, I am at 4 artifacts and I can win the game. So
Sand skimmer armor upgrade.
it's either a trap or a path to victory at this point, and with my carrier coming up, I may be able to defend this extraction zone.
Base runner under fire.
Saturas is also going to come in here with his base runner, but that's going to be taken out by my sand skimmers, which in turn will be nuked down by the much superior sand skimmer force of Saturas, which is now fully upgraded.
Artifact identified.
My assault railguns are going to come in here and dodge some shots, but also not really do a whole lot against these sand skimmers, and this artifact is going to be denied. This artifact here is potentially available for capturing soon,
Additional
but I need to be able to defend against these sand skimmers, and there are a lot of them.
Light attack moving.
I am on a 3-base economy, but only barely with my carrier moving around. My carrier may be better used trying to take out these sand skimmers at long range than it would be trying to collect resources. And here, some really good missile hits from Saturas are going to take out a few of my assault railguns. These railguns do have armor upgrades,
Combat alert.
but that's only going to help against the sand skimmers, not so much against the carrier.
Adjust course. Maintain fire.
There is this artifact still open, and these other 2 artifacts coming up soon. So positioning base runners is going to be important.
Move through contact. Moving to destination.
This is a situation where being able to just snag this one or this one could win the game, and losing them could leave me in a very vulnerable position here as these sand skimmers clean up the railguns and as the Kneff carrier pummels the Galcian carrier with missiles. This is a very dangerous position to be in range of a Kneff carrier. We really just need to move away and get out of its sight range. These railguns doing really very little at all.
Sand skimmer lost.
It's very hard to combat the mobility of those sand skimmers. My base runner here is going to try and grab this artifact. It is so low on health and likely to be taken out by just a few of these sand skimmers. This artifact is now available, but the base runner taken out, so my last hope here is really to try and survive with this carrier and snag this artifact, but it looks like unless I were able to put all power right now into movement, I'm not going to be able to get away from this Kneff carrier.
Sand skimmer taking enemy fire. Sand skimmer.
There's a base runner under construction here to try and snag this. But a whole lot of power and regeneration, and that's not going to be enough to regenerate against the missiles. So my carrier will go down. Saturas takes that victory. And he does it with a strategy that is not unlike one that I've often used in the past. So it's really a little bit shameful for me to not see that one coming or to be able to fight it, but he did a very nice job with these sand skimmers. We can notice his military count is like, he's got 24 sand skimmers here and nothing else really, just the carrier. Did a very good job on just a 2-base economy, so that's a win that he certainly deserves, and definitely not even a close game, I think. Despite the artifact count there, I think that the consistently better economy from Saturas is really what allowed him to win that. So, congratulations, and stay tuned for more Artifact Cup 30. That was round 6, but there's 3 more to go. So, thank you for watching.